It is that time of year again to nominate your favorite comic book YouTube channels. So I will have a link down below to the Comic Book Community Awards nomination page, and I'll have a couple categories I think I'd be a great fit for, and I would really appreciate your nominations and votes later in the year. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the books this week. What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week, starting with a series I have no familiarity with. We have Spider-Man Raign, Volume 2, Issue number 1. Now, Andrews is on here as well as Reber. And again, I didn't know anything about this series going in, but it was the new number 1, and I hope that it would do a decent job of bringing in new readers. There is this little explainer page, of course, up front, and they do a good job of describing the world in a pretty natural way, so it's not like you're being overly spoon-fed what's going on, and you're not also left in the dark about a lot of different things. But we basically understand that something's happened to the world right now, and there's a bubble over New York City right now, and there's this kind of like Matrix type thing going on where all these different people are loaded into these pods. I think it's voluntary, it might not be, but Peter Parker is one of them. The Kingpin is running the game right now, and he is grotesque inside of here. We get a little bit of a peek as to like where he was when the crap went down, and now he's ruling everything. Peter has these weird dreams that we explore in here. He's really old, he's with like a really young Mary Jane, and they're stars, and basically what we learn is that he was kind of in the Matrix when he's dreaming this up. He escapes from that reality with the help of some ally we don't quite know a lot about right now. Very Black Cat-esque, but it has like a bunny type quality as well. I don't know anything about this story. All I know is it was dope, and the visuals are insane. A lot of cool humor in here, and the world has gone to hell, almost like Blade Runner style as well. So it's like Matrix meets Blade Runner meets Spider-Man. So that's what you get in here. A lot of cool colors in here. Dystopian future for sure. And man, reading a book like this makes me want to go back and read the original volume and see what's going on. And then at the very end, we team up with a old villain of ours, of course. And it was just really dope. I really like this one a lot. It makes me want to go back and read the other one. Should I do that if you did read it? Is this like required reading to go back? Or do you think I'm okay starting from here? Let me know down below. Next up from Marvel, we have Star Wars Inquisitors issue number 1. Rodney Barnes on this one, which was the main reason why I picked this one up. I'm not familiar with the artist on here, and I will say the art is the weakest part of this. The story is pretty cool if you like the Inquisitors story. And you know, we got a lot of Inquisitors recently in some of the Disney shows and whatnot. So if you're into like the Grand Inquisitor, I think you're gonna dig this book. He's going around right now after Order 66, teaming up with Darth Vader, trying to take out all the remaining like hidden pockets of Jedi that might be around. He's searching for this one in particular who made a name for himself in a previous battle, like rescuing all these people, and so he's keeping hope alive throughout the star systems, and they want to squash that naturally, so that's what we're doing. Again, the art is pretty good. I think it could have been a little stronger, but the story is strong enough to pull you through those moments. This Jedi we're hunting, he has a master who's got some interesting background or motives, and there's a cool conversation between him and the Grand Inquisitor. I didn't quite pick it all up, but there's some nuances there I think we're trying to convey, but it wasn't quite like on the nose for me, but I still thought it was one of the best moments of the book, as subtle as it was. And you know, you get some Inquisitor on Jedi action right here, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Inquisitors number 1, I didn't really have a lot of expectation going into it because I'm not a huge like Star Wars comics fan, but after reading this one, it wasn't too bad. Did you guys read it? Let me know down below. All right, let's jump over to DC. We have Absolute Power issue number 1. First, cool wraparound cover right there. So if you're not buying it for the story, man, the wraparound cover is pretty dope, so you can check that out. Man, Amanda Waller is here, and damn it, she's got a plan, and it is executed inside of this book. I will say it's an event, so it's going to take all of the stories that we've wrapped up in the proper books, Batman, Superman, etc., and it's going to it's not retconning, it's reversing or hitting that rewind button on all those story arcs, to be honest with you. Now, I can't really go into like all the detail, but like the cover of the book is showcasing some characters, right? Even on the backside right here. So like these characters are in the story, and literally a week ago, we wrapped up those books and storylines in like Superman and Batman. So I'm a little bit upset that we spent all this time in those two stories taking care of this threat. The first issue of Absolute Power reverses all that and reintroduces them, and then essentially wipes out the world with the combination of their powers. High speed, man, high stakes. Everybody in the world's caught off guard. Of course, Batman is one of them. Superman's taken care of pretty quick. Wonder Woman's incapacitated. I mean, I'm talking everybody in the DC universe practically that is a hero is taken out or neutralized in some way in here. And there's even a betrayal. There's a mole in the Justice League, broader Justice League rather, that helped make this a thing. And I'm sure we're going to unpack that as we go forward. So if you're into just crazy action, watching the villains kick some ass, you're going to really like this one. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, speaking of absolute power, we got the first tie-in here, Batman issue 150. One of my least favorite Batman books I've read in quite some time. Chip Zdarsky is still on here. We have Jimenez on the cover alone, but we do not have him inside. We have Hawthorne, we have Cohen, and a slew of other people because there's some backstory stuff in here too. But we're focusing on like this dude that was kind of in the henchman ranks and doing whatever he has to do to make some money. And of course, Batman's like following him along and stuff like that. This guy's got a son who Bruce Wayne doesn't like adopt, but he champions, gets him into college, things like that, tries to steer him off the path his father was taking. And like the story just really sucked, to be honest with you. I did not like the story. I mean, like it was charming and it was fun, but like we came out of this like level setting end of the last arc coming out of Failsafe, and then we get to follow like the first person perspective of one of these henchmen and how much of like a menace Batman is just being around, you know what I mean? And how he kind of rehabilitated his son in a way. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. The last part of this book is a direct tie into Absolute Power. So like the last 6 to 8 pages, whatever it is, gives you a slightly different perspective of an event you saw inside of Absolute Power #1. So you can read Absolute Power. You can jump into here if you want to. It's probably not required reading. Just skip to the very back and read the tie-in part of this. But yeah, Batman 150 for a 150. Big disappointment. Let me know if you guys read it. The Boy Wonder issue #3, Junie Bob pulling double duty on the writing and the art. Very stylistic book. I love the storytelling in here. And again, it's Damian talking to this guy that incapacitated him during some kind of robbery or whatever, giving him a life lesson. And he's listening to these robbers in the very beginning of the story. This guy's like, I'm down on my luck. You know, can people really change? All that stuff right there. And then he goes into this huge anecdote about him with his like, other experiences with other Robins. This one's very like Lazarus Pit oriented. And so we're trying to find this demon. We're on this mission right now to infiltrate this like gathering of evil people essentially from across the world. And we're trying to fight this demon. And again, there's a lot of Lazarus Pit stuff inside of this book. And the whole metaphor here and the message is that people can change. You might have like one perspective of people's motives and things like that, but like look a little deeper, you'll find some more meaning and everything will be fine. So like this is a really cool book. I really love his art style. It's clean. The colors are amazing. It's a really interesting story. And we're learning a lot more about the relationship between Damian and some of the other Robins through these little anecdotes that he's telling right here. So yeah, really cool book. If you can consume more Batman type stuff, Boy Wonder's not a bad one to try out. Let me know if you're reading it though down below. All right, let's jump over to Image with Bear Pirate Viking Queen issue #3. We have Sean Lewis and Jonathan Marks on here. The story is incomprehensible. I have no idea what's going on, to be honest with you. I will say the art is awesome. I love Jonathan Marks' awesome art, his compositions, his like watercolor. It's like Martin Simmons-ish. So if you're into that style where it's just craziness all over the place, playing with composition in ways that nobody else really is, doing great stuff on the art style. So I mean, like story-wise, I don't know what's going on. We basically have these avatars. In the first issue, we had this pirate that used to be in the Royal Navy and he converted to being a pirate. And there was this bear, which I thought was a metaphor, but maybe it's a real thing. People are engaging with it. So how could it be a metaphor? The Viking kills the pirate. The Viking then goes back to his homeland, which was taken from him from the Queen of England, and he's got the bear with him, and he starts going around wiping people out in these pubs and stuff like that. And so then naturally, like the Queen suits up and takes it head on, right? Takes his Viking head on, and this bear eventually just walks away from the battle and then starts having this other type of a story, this other thing playing out that I just quite didn't understand. But you know, all along the journey here, we're just introduced by like awesome page after awesome page. And so like at the end of the day, I couldn't tell you a thing about what the story was besides what I just said. But like all I know is that the art was killer and dude just knocked it out of the park. So Bear Pirate Viking Queen, I didn't understand it. Did you? Let me know down below. But you got to admit the art was incredible. Let me know if you read it. Kelly Thompson on Scarlet issue #2. I had mixed feelings coming out of #1 because it wasn't like as high energy, high stakes, and like exciting as like some of the other Energon books. But issue #2 stepped it up a notch for me. I'm understanding now that Scarlet and Jinx obviously had some kind of relationship, really intimate but not romantic relationship in the past. And so she's doing whatever she can do to understand Jinx's current position. Why would she side with the enemy? I have to infiltrate, and that's kind of like my side mission to figure out what's going on with her. And that's exactly what we're doing. What kind of distracted me a little bit was that I figured that this organization that catches Scarlet at the end of issue number 1 would basically like sacrifice her, but they're interested in her talents and how they can be utilized for their own gain. And they put her basically in like this trial mode right here. You know, go to the impenetrable fortress and get the magical thing that we need to get, and that will prove your loyalty to our cause. And it's like her way of infiltrating this base to get closer to Jinx. So that's exactly what we're doing in here. Art's really good. There's a lot of cool fight scenes. It's a couple disgusting moments, so it has this like mature element that the other Energon books are bringing forward. But I actually like this issue more than issue number 1. So I'm glad it's heading in that direction, because that means that every single Energon book I'm enjoying right now, including Scarlet. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, Savage Dragon 271, Eric Larson on this one. I can probably count on one hand how many Savage Dragon books I've read in my life, but I know it's a cool series and there's some boundary pushing stuff going inside this run, and I just want to get into it and see what's going on. Now, I gotta be careful like what pages I actually show you, but basically, I don't know what's going on, but Savage Dragon and friends are taking on this like super like conservative superhero who's, you know, basically shouting out every single different type of slur that like somebody from that perspective would have on just like cultural in the broader society, you know what I mean? And Savage Dragon and friends are just whooping his butt. Let me make sure I'm covering this part up right here. Yeah, so like this dude right here is just making a mess of everything, and Savage Dragon is doing his best to take care of that. We have Steamboat Willie assaulting this one woman in here too, and she is just beating the hell out of him all the time, and like that's just like a weird thing to have going on. Like I have no context for that at all, but it's happening at the same time as Savage Dragon's taking on this one jerk, so you get to like see both of those things unfold at the same time. And it was just like crazy. Without any context, this book is super weird, very adult as well, so there's definitely some scenes in here that you do not want to have in the hands of your kids, and so if you're a shop, make sure to put those on the top shelf for sure. But yeah, there's tons of action inside of here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the relationships between the characters, but it's something I'm going to be exploring some more. If you're a long time Savage Dragon reader, let me know how the story's been so far, and like how long you've been reading it. It's been around forever. Let me know down below. All right, Dark Horse Comics, we have Grendel, Devil's Crucible Defiance issue number 1. Now I know Grendel's been a series that's been around for quite some time. Matt Wagner's on this one, and I wanted to jump in just to see what the story was all about. I think I've seen some videos on Cartoonist Kayfabe, but they didn't really go into detail as to like the story and the plot and things like that. But they do a decent job of catching you up if you haven't been reading Grendel, I would guess. Our main dude right here was off planet, I guess, for a long time. He comes back and everything has kind of gone to hell. Being a Grendel is an offense that is punishable by death, and you understand there's this new regime that's out right now who's hunting down these remaining Grendels. He's trying to look for some resources. He finds this little market nearby where he can maybe barter, get some equipment that he needs, and you know, quickly some of these like guards show up, or whatever the opposing force is. They end up showing up and causing some trouble, and of course Grendel has to act and you know, kind of save himself and save some of the other people around, because you know, they're threatening the locals. If you know, you don't participate, we're going to take you out and things like that, or ruin your livelihood. And we meet some allies in here, some people that we didn't quite know were on our side. That unfolds inside of here, and so Grendel has a few resources that he figures out in here, and they move on from this little market scene right here. Art was pretty good. Story was interesting too. There's obviously a lot of history here that I just don't have context for, but Grendel issue number 1, not a bad one if you're a new reader. I think it'll be just fine, but obviously that context that you're missing might be vital to the overall story and the enjoyment of this. But yeah, Grendel number 1 from Dark Horse, not bad. What'd you guys think? Next up from Titan, we have Conan the Barbarian issue number 12. That Jeffrey Allen Love cover on cover A is fire. Met the guy at Heroes, really cool dude. Definitely keep an eye out for this guy in the future. This was a great story. I love the buildup with Conan, and he's gone back in time through mysterious means, and I don't quite think we understand exactly why still at the end of the story, to team up with some of his ancestors, and they're going to take on this evil that we get introduced to in the previous issue, and it's Thulsa Doom, I think is how you pronounce him. I'm going to call him Doom going forward in here. He's in this tomb right now, and we awaken him, and we got there via some like siren song type magic, right? And so he's out here, and he's basically going to stop this lineage of like super kings. Doom almost has a premonition that this force needs to be taken out. The bloodline needs to be stopped. And so he lures them in, and he's trying to take them out right now. And Conan, being sent back in time, is now with them. And the combined power between everybody is just a little bit too much for Doom to take on. But it's just a really great battle, and trying to, you know, push everybody to their edge, right? Both mentally and physically. A lot of cool wizardry going on, some magic, stuff like that. Some like cosmic perspective even gets brought into this. At the end of the day, our heroes do prevail, but like at what cost is one of the questions that they have. So there's some seeds planted for some further development of this character, for Doom to come back or whatever it might be. So we'll explore that obviously later. And then it takes us back to where we were, I believe, in the end of the second arc leading into this time traveling arc. And Conan is like relieved of that possession that he had initially, and he goes on his way and into the darkness, right? So we're going to be reading this going forward for sure. It's been one of my favorite books out. I have not read Conan going into this particular run. I'm super energized. I cannot wait to read more. Savage Sword is really good too. I think it comes out next week. But yeah, I'm all in on Conan right now. Let me know if you guys read it down below. Next up from Dynamite, we have Space Ghost issue number 3. David Pepose on this one. Killer covers on this entire series. So big props to the team for making great, engaging covers. And cardstock too. So major props to you. Space Ghost number 2, we put our team together. We have Space Ghost, we have the kids and everything teaming up right now. And there's a little montage in the beginning of this book of them trying to go around finding answers to, like what happened to their parents. And Space Ghost has his own history that he's trying to fight right now and, get some answers for. We're introduced to a new villain in here by a quick showcase of her powers in the beginning. It's actually Black Tarantula, and she's a cool character. She's got a lot of interesting powers, but like a concept or a design that we've seen before, or we're at least familiar with that type of look on a character. She's a villain. Space Ghost knows this, but there's an enemy of my enemy type situation going on. She wants answers. She knows Space Ghost and his new team can help them infiltrate this base to get those answers. But, has she actually teamed up with this other villain to, trap Space Ghost and get whatever they want to get in exchange, So we get to see this trap get put in place. And of course, it kind of springs towards the end and we get to see how our heroes can get out of that. And all this happens in a really predictable way, but it's still a really good ride because the art's really cool. And the dialogue is pretty sharp as well. So I did like this one a lot. Probably my favorite issue of Space Ghost that we've gotten so far, issue number 3. Let me know if you guys read it. All right, that's all I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you picked up and what your favorite books of the week were down below. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the comments.